I'm Julia Sondu, showing you where development is happening. Please come and join us. Dramatic Gaza raid to rescue 2 hostages. Israel. Israeli forces rescued 2 hostages early Monday, storming a heavily guarded apartment in a densely packed town in the Gaza Strip and extracting them under fire and covering airstrikes. The plight of the hostages has profoundly shaken Israelis, and the rescue in Rafah briefly lifted the spirits of a nation still reeling from Hamas' cross-border raid last year that started the war. Israel has described Rafah, a city on the southern edge of the Gaza Strip where 1.4 million Palestinians have fled fighting elsewhere, as the last remaining Hamas stronghold in the territory, and signaled that its ground offensive may soon target the city. In Gaza, Israel says about 100 hostages remain in Hamas captivity after dozens were freed during a ceasefire in November. Hamas also holds the remains of roughly 30 others in captivity. The government has made freeing the hostages a top aim of its war, along with destroying Hamas military and governing capabilities. But as the fighting drags on, now in its 5th month, rifts have emerged in Israel over how to retrieve them. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says persistent military pressure will bring about the captives' freedom, even as families of the hostages and many of their supporters have called on the government to make another deal with Hamas. A dramatic raid. Israeli military spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said special forces broke into a second-floor apartment in Rafah under fire at 1:49 a.m. Monday, accompanied a minute later by airstrikes on surrounding areas. He said Hamas militants were guarding the captives and that members of the rescue team shielded the hostages with their bodies as the battle erupted. The army identified those rescued as Fernando Simon Marman, 60, and Louis Ha, 70, abducted by Hamas militants from kibbutz near Yitzhak on October 7th. They also hold Argentinian citizenship. They are among just 3 hostages to be rescued. A female soldier was rescued in November. The rescue, which Hagari said was based on precise intelligence and planned for some time, is a morale booster for Israelis, but a small step toward winning the release of the remaining hostages, who are believed to be spread out and hidden in tunnels. Ha's son-in-law, Idin Begerano, who saw the released captives at the hospital where they were airlifted, said the 2 men were thin and pale, but communicating well and aware of their surroundings. Begerano said Ha told him immediately upon seeing him, "You have a birthday today, Mazel Tov." The men held long, tearful embraces with their relatives at hospital, according to video released by Netanyahu's office. The airstrikes hit jam-packed Rafah in the middle of the night, and dozens of explosions could be heard around 2 a.m. Ashraf al-Qidra, spokesman for the health ministry. Al-Qidra said rescuers were still searching the rubble. An Associated Press journalist counted at least 50 bodies at the Abu Youssef al-Najjar hospital in Rafah. Mohammed Zokroub, a Palestinian living in Rafah, said he saw a black jeep speeding through the town, followed by clashes and heavy airstrikes. "We found ourselves running with our children, from the airstrikes, in every direction," he said, speaking from an area flattened by the strikes. Footage circulating on social media from Rafah's Kuwaiti hospital showed wounded children. The footage could not immediately be verified but was consistent with app reporting. "Let Netanyahu come and see. Is this one of your designated targets?" he said. Concerns about Rafah. Netanyahu has said sending ground troops into Rafah is essential to meeting Israel's war goals. On Sunday, the White House said President Joe Biden had warned Netanyahu that Israel should not conduct a military operation there without a credible and executable plan to protect civilians. More than half of Gaza's 2.3 million population is now crammed into Rafah, where hundreds of thousands live in sprawling tent camps and overcrowded UN shelters. Biden's remarks, made in a phone call with Netanyahu, were his most forceful language yet on the possible operation. Discussion of the potential for a ceasefire agreement took up much of the call, a senior U.S. administration official said. The official said that after weeks of diplomacy, a framework is now pretty much in place for a deal that could see the release of remaining hostages held by Hamas in exchange for Palestinian prisoners and a halt to fighting. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss negotiations, acknowledged that gaps remain, but declined to give details. The official said military pressure on Hamas in the southern city of Khan Yunis in recent weeks helped bring the group closer to accepting a deal. Netanyahu's office declined to comment on the call. Hamas Al-Aqsa television station earlier quoted an unnamed Hamas official as saying any invasion of Rafah would blow up the talks mediated by the United States, Egypt and Qatar. Biden and Netanyahu spoke after two Egyptian officials and a Western diplomat said Egypt threatened to suspend its peace treaty with Israel if troops are sent into Rafah. The war between Israel and Hamas started on the 7th of October 2023, when the paramilitary wings of Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PRC, PFLP and DFLP launched a series of coordinated armed incursions into the Gaza envelope of neighboring Israeli territory, the first invasion of Israel since the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. The attacks, on a Saturday, initiated the Israel-Hamas War, almost exactly 50 years after Operation Badr and the Greater Yom Kippur War of the 6th of October 1973. Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups named the attacks Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, or Deluge, usually romanized as Tufan al-Aqsa or Tufan al-Aqsa, while in Israel they are referred to as Black Saturday or the Simchat Torah attack and internationally as the 7th of October attack. The attacks began in the early morning with a rocket barrage of at least 3,000 rockets launched against Israel and vehicle-transported and powered paraglider incursions into its territory. Hamas fighters breached the Gaza-Israel barrier and at the Nova Music Festival, and attacking military bases. The attacks resulted in 695 Israeli civilians, including 36 children, 71 foreign nationals, and 373 members of the security forces. Approximately 250 Israeli civilians and soldiers were taken as hostages to the Gaza Strip, including 30 children, with the stated goal to force Israel to release Palestinian prisoners. This is the end of our program today. See you on Intervlogs same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you for watching Intervlog. Thank you.